Is it my voice audible to you? Yes, ma. Is it audible? My voice. Yeah. Thank you. Yes, ma. You can come up your doubts. You people can start asking me doubts so that I'll clarify your doubts. No doubts. You people are having no doubts in the CPP. Operator overloading. Friend function. Okay. Let me explain. Now, assume that, okay. Now I want to add two objects. Object to 1 plus object to 2. Now I cannot add them directly because object 1 is a collection of members. Object 2 is also a collection of members. So when you want to add them, you cannot add them directly because they are members. You have to explain them, have to add it. So for that, what we are going to do? We are going to write a function. Add function. Add obj2. And here we'll have obj1 dot. Got the clarity? Obj1 dot add function. So whether you are adding obj1 to obj2 or obj to obj1 doesn't make any difference to us. But if you are going for a subtraction, obj1 dot sub of obj2. In this case, it is required to know whether obj1 is subtracted from obj2 or obj2 is subtracted from obj1. Understood? So by seeing this function call, can you understand it? You cannot understand until unless you don't know the task of this function. Isn't it? Until unless you are not aware of this task of this function, you cannot predict it. So which one is comfortable? Is it this one or obj1 minus obj2? If I use operators, the readability of my program is more. I can clearly understand. Got the clarity? So for that reason, we are performing operator overloading. So in the operator overloading, we are in operator overloading, we are enhancing the, we are enhancing the properties. Properties of operators. What do you mean by enhancing? Enhancing means improvising so that they can be used on between the objects. They can be used on between the objects. Normally, any operators will work on integer, float, character, double. They cannot work between arrays, they cannot work between strings, they cannot work between structures and objects. So, using this particular functionality, we are doing it. Got it? So, operator overloading, operator overloading can be implemented by member functions and friend functions. Can be implemented by member functions and friend functions. So let me explain. So what do you mean by member functions? Member function means they are part of that class. They are part of that particular class. Understood? And friend functions means they are non-members. So let me explain with. So you can overload binary operators as well as unary operators. So binary operators overloading using member functions. So when I say obj1 plus obj2, this is a binary operator, plus is a binary operator. So here left operand is calling object. Left operand will be, left operand is taken as a calling object by the compiler, not by me and you. Compiler itself will take it as a calling object. And right operand is passed as formal argument, passed as input argument to function. Got the clarity? This is a point you have to remember. So when I give the statement like this, obj1 plus obj2, internally this is converted as obj dot operator plus, and we will pass the right operand as a parameter. So while collecting in the definition, we need to collect this obj2. Understood? So for an operator overloading, the name of the function should be with operator followed by the symbol. Then only compiler automatically calls it one. When I write this instruction, compiler automatically calls this way. If you write f1 function or add function or a subtraction function, it will not call it. Got the clarity? So all the operator overloaded function, whether it is member function or a friend function, the name of the function should start with operator plus. Clear? Understood? Now, what task you will implement according to your requirement? Whatever the task you have implemented inside this add function, subtraction function, same task will come over here. Okay? You people have to take care that functionality of the operator is not changed, priority of the operator is not changed, associativity of the operator is not changed. You use a plus operator and perform the multiplication task. You use a plus operator and perform multiplication task. So it's a invalid, na? You don't get any errors. You don't get any compile time error. But only the problem is the meaning is getting changed. Why we adopted for this method? For readability. Now that readability will be lost. Understood? Next. When you want to overload a unary operator, so this will be converted to that unary operand itself becomes a calling object. So obj dot operator plus plus, and we don't have any input arguments. When you are overloading the unary operators, we don't have any input arguments. Got it? Clear? So what is the return type? What functionality you have to do it? You have to make sure of yourself. Okay? You have to write. Your compiler will not write the definition. Now the same thing when you want to do with friend functions. When you want to do with friend functions, there are no calling objects because calling objects are only present for member functions. So for friend function, both left and right operands we have to collect as a input arguments. We have to collect it as a input arguments. Like, yeah, please say me if somebody is waiting in the waiting room. Okay. Yeah, just give me a message that somebody if it is waiting. Okay. Hmm. Now both left and right operands has to be collected as an input argument. So the expression remains the same thing, obj1 plus obj2 itself. For a friend function, how it is going to be convert? Operator operator plus obj1 comma obj2, obj1 comma obj2 means there is no calling object, both the operands will be passed as a parameters. And for unary operators, operator plus plus obj. Got it? Understood? So any other doubts on this one? Is this got clear? Yes, ma. Anybody having a doubt on this operator overloading syntax? Now let me explain. Friend function. Okay. Normally, private members of a class, private members of a class are accessible. Private members of a class are accessible by members of the same class, are accessible by members of the same class. But when you want to, when you're working with a project, you have multiple classes. A data of one class may be an input to some other class, isn't it? So in such cases, one class functions wants to access another class data members or private functions. Public members, they can be accessible. For accessing the public members, you don't require any friendship concept. Directly you can access it. But when you want to access the private members, you cannot access it. So to implement that concept, we go with friend functions. Okay. So to make you people easily understand, let me take day-to-day life example. assume that I want to use your bike. I want to take a bike. I want to, some emergency is there. Now my bike is not working. I just want to take your bike. Now, can I go to anybody and take their bike? No, no, I cannot take it. See, if somebody unknown person, a stranger comes and asks me that, give me once your bike, will be returning in 1 hour. Can I give them? Obviously, no, they don't know. But if a friend of mine, asks me, obviously I'll give because he or she is my friend. Isn't it? He or she is my friend. Isn't it? Same way, now if somebody wants to access the private members of, not somebody, some other class wants to access the private
Hand
members of a class.
detection. It is advisable to wear a mask at all times. Use
V8,
light
mute
blending
yourself, ma. Okay. So to access the private members, I cannot access them the way we want it. We need to make them as a friend first. If you become a friend, then you can access their bike or a mobile. Isn't it? So you have to first make them as a friend. So whoever wants to access the my bike, they should become my friend first. Got it? Same way, a function or a class, whoever wants to access some X class data, these two should become a friend to that X class. So how do you make them as a friend? Should declare. If you want to make function as a friend, then function prototype. Function prototype with friend keyword, should be declared, in the class, whose data you want to access. Got it? Example, assume that I have a class called, okay, let me show with a programmatical simple example. Now, let me open a terminal and show. Okay. So let me go with the simple example. Now, I have a class called ABC. Now I have int data 1, comma data 2. These are the private members. Okay. Now I have ABC, int A equals to 0, comma int B equals to 0. Now, in this particular example, I'm combining default constructor and parameters constructor into a single one using a default arguments concept. Okay. If I create a object without any parameters, then it is assigned with default value zeros. If I give parameters, it will be assigned with parameters. Okay. So cout in constructor and simply assign data1 equals to A, data2 equals to B. Okay. Now assume that I have a void display function. Okay. So this is printing cout data1 cout data2. Okay. So constructor and your display function both are member functions, isn't it? Now you can also have a destructor cout destructor. Now here also I'm covering the constructor and destructor part. Now try to understand. When an object is created, when an object is created, automatically a constructor will be invoked by the compiler. Okay. A constructor will be invoked by the compiler. Similarly, when an object is about to die, a destructor will be called. If you write your own destructor, it will call your destructor. If you don't write the definition for the destructor, compiler will supply its own destructor. Got it? Similarly, when none of the constructors are supplied to your program will supply a dummy default constructor, which is applicable for an object without any parameters. Understood? But if you are passing a parameters, it's your responsibility to define your own parameterized constructor. Okay? Now, let me have a function called add, which is trying to add the data members of class ABC. Print the result of those things. So cout data1 plus data2. Okay. Now go with the main. Now observe that add is not a member function of ABC. How do you know that it is not a member function? Neither its definition is present inside the class nor its declaration. So to become a member of the class, either a declaration should be present inside a class or a definition. But both are not there related to the add function. So it's going to be a non-member of the class. Now go to the main, create an object ABC, ABC OBJ. As I did not pass any parameters, the default parameters will be 0. But do I want 0? No, I want some values. So let me pass it. 20, 45. As I pass the values, 20 is assigned to A, 45 is assigned to B. Got it? Now, obj dot display. Obj dot display, it will display it. Now call the add function. So add function is a general function. Add function is a general function. So call simply with its name, add. Okay. Let me try to execute it. So when I execute this, it throws me an error saying that data1 was not declared in the scope. Data2 is not declared in the scope. Somewhere I forgot it semicolon. Okay, let me check. Yeah. Because data1 and data2 are present in this block. Are they visible outside the block? No. How do we access them outside a block? Using object. Means I should pass the object. Only member functions can access them directly. Non-members has to be accessed only through object. So here I'll pass obj to the add function. What type of argument obj is? ABC class object. So collect it. obj1. Now you can say obj1 dot data, obj1 dot data2. Now let me compile it. Again you are getting an error. Now error is changed. Previously it was saying that undeclared, not in the scope. Now what error you are getting? ABC scope resolution data 1 is private, means a non-member function accessing a private data. So it is throwing me an error. A stranger coming and asking me to give my bike keys. I said, who are you? I don't know. I don't even care to talk to them, isn't it? Yes, this is what happens. Now, so to access this data, add function should be a friend to ABC class. So how do you make friend, a return type, add type of the argument? So making add function friend to ABC class. Now add has become friend to ABC class. It can access private protected members of my ABC class. Public members, anyhow it can access, whether it is a friend or not a friend, it can access it. Now run the program. Is it your error solved? And execute it. Clear? Understood? Any doubts in this one? So this is a normal function making as a friend. If you want to make a member function of one class friend to another class, so simply you have to mention friend to which class this belongs to. Suppose if add function belongs to xyz class, I should say xyz scope resolution. If it is a member function, the syntax is same. Extra thing you should say that to which class this function belongs to. So the meaning is ABC function of xyz class. ABC member function, sorry, member function of xyz class called add is a friend to this one. Is this one clear? N3? Any other doubts related to the friendship concept? And if you want to make a class as a friend, simply friend keyword followed by class name. Okay? Yeah. One point you people need to remember. Above class functions, above class member functions can be made friend to below class. But below class member functions, you cannot make friend to above class. In such cases, you have to make complete below class as a friend. Got it? Because in the above class, when you declare the function declaration, your compiler is not aware that below class is having that function or not. For that reason. Okay? A14, what is your doubt related to the constructors and destructors? Are you there? Hmm. Is it your doubt related to constructor and destructor is clear, or anything you want me to ask? Okay. Mm. Can we do private mode of inheritance? Yes. Your mode of inheritance can be private. If mode of inheritance is private, what all the things you are inheriting from parent, all those things becomes parent in the child class, becomes private in the child class. So what you will be inheriting from the parent? Protected members and public members. So protected members and public members of parent becomes private members inside a child class. So if a grandchild is derived from the child class, whatever you inherited from the parent cannot be inherited to the grandchild. So it is possible. Yes, ma. Any other doubts? What will access private members of a class? What will, I did not get your question, D1. Please once read your question again, post it. Who will access the private members of a class? Is that the question? The private members of a class are accessible by member functions of the class, member functions of the same class, and friend functions. And friend functions. Okay? Yeah. Yes, ma. Any other doubts? You want runtime polymorphism program? I don't think so. I have in my laptop. Let me check it out once. Because today I connected with my laptop. There's a problem with my desktop. So, mm, let me check it out once. Yeah, your batch is there. V19 H7 Cpp. Runtime polymorphism is not there in this one. Okay, let me check. Yes, what do you want in the runtime polymorphism? Yes, ma'am. What do you want in the runtime polymorphism? Virtual function. Virtual function or pure virtual function? Mm, where did I do this? Three types of constructors in the virtual. No, what is your doubt? If you can say me, accordingly I'll answer you.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, ma.
Ma'am, exactly the concept I was not remembered, ma'am. There is a one program like we had used three types of constructors, and I was commented copy constructor and parameterized constructors. Even though I am
Hmm.
getting the same answers, ma'am, in both the cases.
Is it a virtual function concept or is it in the constructors concept?
Virtual functions, ma'am. Runtime polymorphism concept.
Okay. Okay. Let me open, check it out. CD runtime polymorphism. Hmm. Runtime.cpp. Yeah, this is one program. See, this is one program where I have a default constructor and a virtual function inside a parent. Then I have a child default constructor and a display function. And child 2 third class, which is having child 2 default constructor and a display function. Okay. Now what did I do here is, depending upon my requirement, so from one parent class, two children has been derived. And in each class, I have overridden this virtual function. Whatever the virtual function you have in the parent class, for that I have given the new definition in the child classes. Okay. So if I go to this one, if I give child 1, the display function will work according to the child 1. If I give child 2, the display function will work according to the child 2. Understood? Now, this virtual concept doesn't have any relation with the constructor. Constructor is related with your object. Constructor is related with your object. Got it? So whether you go with parameterized constructor or a copy constructor doesn't make, the overriding concept is related to this virtual function. Yes, you can check for that program and you can post it to me. You have you people are having my mail ID, na? You can post it, or you can ask me tomorrow in the class. Tomorrow also we have the class, isn't it? Yeah. So that even I'll, by the tomorrow, if my desktop is fine, I'll copy those folders here. Yes. Any other doubts? Inline function. So when you declare any of the function as a inline, when you declare any of the function as a inline, when you call that function, instead of transferring the function to its definition, the definition will be replaced in the place of its function call, like this. Suppose if I mentioned void inline void sum add int a comma int b, and if I say cout a plus b. Okay. And when I go for main, and if you say c, and if you call add 10 comma 20 normal functions, the control will transfer to the definition of the add function, but instead of transferring to the add function, in the place of this add function itself, we will be replaced in this particular statement, we will be replacing with the definition of this function, which is cout 10 plus 20. Got it? The definition of this function will be replaced in the place of this one. Huh. Whether it is considered as an inline request or not, it depends upon the compiler's decision. I can only request. Got the clarity? I can only request is. Understood? Suppose if compiler thinks that is of no use in making it as inline, then it is treated as a normal function itself. Then it is treated as a normal function itself. So how it will decide? It decides upon the how much time it is taking to execute the task plus time taken to build the stack and collapse the stack. Clear? So it's purely depends upon the compiler. We can only request it. Yeah, somebody asked me which code is compact. Is it C++ or Java? Now I don't have idea about Java. Basic things I know. I'll just say it to you. Just uh, analyze yourself. Okay. C++ is a partially object oriented programming language. It's not a pure object oriented. Why? Because it supports procedure oriented as well as object oriented programming principles. So using procedure oriented, it performs low level programming, device level programming. Okay. I hope that you people understand what is device level programming. Okay. And using object oriented programming principles, it is used to implement high end applications. That's the first thing. Now, when you go for a Java, Java is a pure object oriented programming language, high end object oriented programming language. So it only used to used for implementing the application oriented, high end application oriented, and it cannot be used for device level programming. Next, C++ is a compilable language. C++ is a compilable language. What do you mean by compilable language? It can be, the source code will be compiled, then the output of this compiled language will be executed. That's the thing. Means if the code is error free, then the program will be compiled and this compiled output will be executed. But when you go for a Java, Java performs both compile, it acts as a compilable language as well as interpreted or a scripting language, you can say. So they have their own properties. As I'm not good at Java, not good, I don't know Java, so I cannot give full justification to your question. Okay. Yes. Any other doubts? So you can also add one more statement. C++ is a compiler dependent language, or not compiler, platform dependent language. Whereas Java is supported by interpreted, Java is an interpreted language. So it is a platform independent language. Now, whether we work with uh, any different operating system doesn't have much impact. but for C++, it makes the difference. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Any other doubts? Yes, ma. Any other doubts? D1, what is your doubt, ma? Mm, compile time polymorphism. Function overloading. 1 second. Sorry. Function overloading, operator overloading comes under compile time polymorphism. So in the compile time polymorphism, at compilation time itself, at compilation time itself, compiler will decide for a respective function call, which definition to be executed. For a respective function call, which definition to be executed is decided at compilation time itself. Okay. So your function overloading. So when you take a function overloading, you have in the function overloading more than one function with the same name but with different signature. Yani number of arguments should be deferred, or type of argument should be differ, or order of the argument should be differ. At least one has to be differ. If all the three are differ, it's well and good, but at least one has to be differ. So based on these three parameters, at compilation time itself, your compiler will decide for the respective function call which definition to be executed. Got it? Now, same way with operator overloading. Operator overloading is also a compile time polymorphism. At the compilation time itself, depending upon the type of arguments, number of arguments you have provided to your operator, you will decide whether to execute the compiler definition of the operator or overloaded definition. That is also decided at compilation time itself. Example, if I have 10 plus 20, if I have 10 plus 20 at compilation time itself, depending upon the type of operands you are using with plus operator, it will decide whether to go with the functionality of the operator or overloaded function. And if you say object 1 plus object 2, as object 1 and object 2 are not the primary data types, then the compiler will check for the definition of the overloaded function. Here also the same concept. So these two are the examples for operator overloading. And when it comes to the runtime polymorphism, instead of resolving the for which function call which definition to be executed, that decision is taken at compilation time. Is taken at runtime rather than at compilation time. So that concept we call it as a runtime polymorphism. So in runtime polymorphism, depending upon the which child address you are storing in a parent class pointer, depending upon which child address is stored in a parent class pointer, the functionality will work according to that child properties. Understood? So in a parent class pointer, you will store the address of a child class address. So this will be useful when you have multiple childrens. Child 1, child 2, child 3, child 4, child 5. So if the parent pointer is containing child 2 address, the functionalities will work according to the child 2. So example for your runtime polymorphism is function overriding, which is implemented with the help of virtual functions. Understood? Clear? Yes. Any other doubts? Did I miss anybody's doubt? Let me check. Yeah. Having any other doubts? If no doubts, we'll end the meeting. If having any doubts, you can ask me. Yes, ma? Okay, then, fine. If no doubts, I'm ending the meeting today. Tomorrow we'll continue. So, any doubts, just revise your CPP notes. Having any doubt, make a mark of it. And tomorrow you people can ask me. Thank you.